So the resource person has joined our cloud meeting, Dr. H.D. Jadhav sir, currently serving as a Dean, Faculty of Science and Technology at SNDT Women's University, Mumbai. His professional experience include he has worked or served in Raja Ram Bapu Institute of Technology, Islampur, for 15 years as a professor, associate professor, and has also successfully presented the department three times before NBA for accreditation of BTech and MTech programs. Also, he is associated with Tatya Saheb Kore Institute of Engineering and Technology, Varnanagar, where he has worked as an assistant professor for more than 10 years and contributed significantly to teaching and departmental growth. His education qualification include his PhD in electronic engineering with a specialization of power system, renewable energy optimization from Sardar Vallabhai National Institute of Technology, Surat. He has obtained his Masters of Engineering in Power System from Walchand College of Engineering, Sangli. He has obtained his BE degree from Government College of Engineering, Karad, and also is certified Energy Auditor, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Government of India. His key achievement and contribution include he is a research guide of Shivaji University, Kolhapur, where he has successfully uh, guided one PhD student and currently six students are working. He has also completed a research project for funded by Government of Maharashtrian Private Industry with four numbers. Has published 25 research papers in Rapid International Journal, presented more than 50 papers at conferences in India and abroad includes Italy, Turkey, Malaysia. He is also regular reviewer for journal affiliated with elsewhere AIEEE, Transaction, Trailer Francis, and Springer. NBA accreditation, he has successfully lead accreditation process multiple times for BTech and MTech program. So indeed, it is really an honor and pleasure for all of us to have him here uh, in this Zoom platform for NEP orientation and sensitization course. So again, on behalf of this UGC Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University, I welcome Dr. H.D. Jadhav sir, and I would now hand over the session to him. Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Just please confirm if I am clearly audible or not.
You're audible, sir. Your screen is also visible, and you are a co-host. And we have muted the participant so that no disturbance should be there. So if somebody has any queries, they can raise the hand, or at the end of the lecture, you can unmute them, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you so much for your introductory remarks. And now, with your permission, I will proceed for my
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
session.
I
Okay.
will take your leave, sir. I will take your leave.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. So, good afternoon, all the participants. And as introduced by sir, that I shall be dealing with a small session which primarily deals with curriculum development. So the session which I shall be talking about is not new to most of you. In fact, I understand most of the participants are from institutions where they are academic leaders, probably might be working in a good capacity, and I'm aware that by virtue of your experience, and then recently we had NEP 2020 also implemented for undergraduate and postgraduate programs. And then moreover, you have been engaged in accreditation processes for several years, like NAC and NB accreditations. So you are already aware of all the things which I shall be talking about in my session. But I thought there are chances that few participants might get benefited out of the content I shall be presenting, particularly those who are beginner in the education system, and they may learn. They'll learn something which will help them in their preparing the lesson plans, curriculum development, and so on. So with this background, let me get into my session. So after this session is over, my outcomes are as follows. So I believe there are two outcomes to this session. These two outcomes are clearly stated on the screen, that after this session is over, the participants will be able to compute CO attainments for any course and close the quality loop at course level. Second outcome of this session is expected to be like this. The participants will be able to, particularly I'm referring to here, for second outcome, I'm referring to head of the departments. So for head of the department, the outcome would be that head of the department along with his or her IQAC coordinator will be able to compute the attainment of program outcomes and program specific outcomes and close the quality loop at program level. So there are two clear outcomes. First outcome deals with teachers or course instructor who is dealing with a specific course. And second outcome deals with the head of the program or department HOD who is offering, who is having different programs under him, and he is expected to calculate or compute the program outcomes. So with these two clear outcomes, let us proceed further. See, there are almost 61 slides, and depending upon the availability of the time and your interest, either we will go through all the slides or we will limit our discussion to, say, for example, CO attainment level only. So there are 4 to 5 bullets you can see on the screen, and these bullets are just giving idea about the content of this entire program. So I'll just briefly talk about outcome-based education. Again, let me tell you, almost all 100% participants are aware of this term called outcome-based education, which is not new, but still I will just, touch this term by having 3-4 slides. And then another terminology, program educational outcomes. There is one slide. And then we'll have a discussion about POs, PSOs, COs, then mapping and attainment calculations. So that is how the presentation will proceed through different slides. And at any point of time, if you notice that something is not going in order, and you have not understood something, then you can simply unmute. I'm unaware whether you are permitted to unmute on your own or not, but if you can interrupt me or if you can drop some message, and if I happen to see the message, I can take a pause and I can always answer these questions. To continue further, the term, as I mentioned, outcome-based education will be discussed in the beginning. And there's a William Spady who defined OBE in different ways. So there are few ways, let us define OBE. So according to him, OBE means organizing organizing educational system around what is essential for all students to be able to do successfully at the end of an activity. So having organized an education system, knowing that, or with the intention that what is essential for the student to be able to do successfully at the end of the activity is something called outcome-based education. So every activity should have some outcome, and here in educational setting, we believe that students should be able to do something. So doing something is more important than just knowing something. Moreover, the second way of defining OBE is like this. If we have a clear picture what the student should be able to do, then we can always design curriculum. We can then accordingly design teaching learning process, and then we can design assessment. So these three important elements of education system, that is curriculum, teaching learning process and assessment, they go hand in hand. Session आहे ही याच पद्धतीने जाणार. So this is very important, that having the system designed this way is very important, and that is all about the definition of outcome based education according to William Spalding. There are other few definitions of OBE. OBE means yes, it is an approach. It is an approach to education in which decision about curriculum, instructions, and assessment are driven by exit learning outcome. So yes, I am talking same thing. If you know the outcome of learning experience, then we need to design all the three important elements properly so that outcome can be achieved. Then one more way of defining outcome based education is that if you know the product, so you know the specifications of the product, then what kind of process you need to design is something called OBE. So product is very well specified and then process is designed. Moreover, it is opposite to input based education. Earlier, or I remember when I was a student, the education experience or the teaching learning process was input based. So it was something wherein the emphasis or the stress was on teaching, and system is happy to accept whatever the result is. That means teachers used to come and they used to teach the way they know, and then they were happy that they have delivered, and then whatever result of this teaching learning process they were happy with. So this kind of process was there in place. So outcome based education is exactly opposite to input based education system. There are few more statements of OBE, that it is something represent an unambiguous statement what the student should be able to do or perform. So I'm repeating same thing. So the emphasis is what the student should be able to do or perform. So these are the two important keywords the teacher need to understand, that at the end what the student will be able to do, instead of knowing or instead of taking efforts so that student will know something. So knowledge is fine, but now outcome based education is going beyond the knowledge. And the other way is that, see, the behavior of the student or what the student will be able to do or perform, this particular thing should be observable and measurable. We should clearly observe the behavior of student after the student undergoes that activity, or the performance should be clearly measurable. Then and then we can say that we are implementing outcome based education. If the effect is not observable, if the effect is not measurable, then essentially we are not implementing outcome based education. Moreover, the OBE system, if it is in place, then student, and if it is informed that this is the way the teaching learning or educational experience is planned for a student by teacher, then student will know, or student will be able to plan his studies or his learning accordingly. So having prepared OBE type of document will be equally useful to the students, because students will upfront know that what is the outcome and what is the process designed to achieve that outcome. So these are a few slides. They talk about outcome based education system. So I'll skip this because I just talked about same thing. But one thing is very important on this slide, that having defined clearly that what student should be able to do. So if the teacher knows that what the student should be able to do after one lecture or two lecture or after bunch of lectures, then it is very easy for a teacher to design the instructional activities. So instructional activities, I mean to say that the lesson plan. So the student will be able to design a lesson plan. Sorry, a teacher will be able to design a lesson plan after having defined clearly what the student should be able to do, and then the teacher will be able to implement this in the classroom. See, these are the different instruments the teacher generally use to share the educational experience or to give a better educational experience to the student. For example, classroom teaching, laboratory sessions, or seminars, field trips, workshops, or maybe discussion in the library in the group. So these are different instruments which are used so that a better and better educational experience can be given to the students. But after doing all these things, that is designing the instructions, delivering the instructions, the last important step is to measure the outcomes. So outcomes are measured by doing assessment. And this assessment should be in alignment with what is expected. So there are three important components, and these three components should resonate with each other. I mean, it is not the case that I will define something different, then I will not design the instructions accordingly, and neither my assessment will match with the instruction. If this is the case, then it is not outcome based education system. So I think I have given you fairly good idea about outcome based education system. So now, moving further ahead, there are three types of outcomes generally we come across. So what are these three types of outcomes or three levels of outcomes? Because see, just I mentioned about outcome based education. So where these outcomes or in what way the outcomes are to be defined, because the outcomes have to be clearly defined, and then these outcomes are measured by using some kind of instruments, assessment instruments particularly. So the first level is defining program educational objectives. So the program educational objectives we will define later on in subsequent slides represents the professional accomplishments the students are expected or students should be pursuing at the end of the program. Whereas the next kind of or next level of outcome is program outcome or program specific outcome. So if we talk about one specific program, see, now the term program means the different kind of degree programs which the university or institute offer. For example, you have got BA, BCom, BSc, or maybe BA Marathi, BA History, BA English, BCom, BTech, MBBS. So these are all the different kinds of programs, and these programs have a clear program educational objectives to be defined, right? And then having defined this PEO, then comes the program outcomes to be defined clearly. We'll talk in detail about these things also. And then later on, all the program outcomes which are specified for a particular program are achieved by set of courses. So courses, we mean to say the credit courses. For example, credit 4 credit course, 2 credit course, 6 credit research project course, or 2 credit seminar course. So I'm talking about the different instruments which are used to give better educational experience to the students. So course outcomes comes once we have clearly stated the program outcomes, and before that PEO to be defined clearly. Now, program educational objectives. See, this term, this term is very relevant when it comes to NBA type of NBA type of exercise, where the engineering institutions undergo or engineering departments undergo NBA type of accreditation. And during NBA, it is mandatory for every department or for every program to define program educational objectives. Whereas when it comes to NAC, in a NAC, the assessment is done at institute level, and uh, it is very relevant even in the case of NAC, because most of you know that NAC has also got two important criteria, NAC criteria 1 and NAC criteria 2. And these two criteria deals with academic activities like curricular aspects, or say your teaching learning process and assessment. So while the teacher prepare themselves for educational activities, it is very relevant for particularly department head of the department to define the broad statements that define the career or a professional accomplishments that the program is preparing the graduates for. So PEOs are essentially statements. Two, three statements are to be written by the program owner or head of the department need to write these statements in consultation with the department faculty. I am assuming that the department is autonomous in nature. Otherwise, if it is not an autonomous type of department or a program, if it is a program offered through affiliating university, but in a non-autonomous format, then this exercise is done by board of studies. So board of studies chairperson, along with his or her team members, need to define these program educational objectives for a specific program for which the curriculum or credit structure has to be developed. So what is it basically? As I stated, these are the statements that describes the career or professional accomplishments that the program is preparing the graduate to achieve. So we are defining upfront while preparing a syllabus or a credit structure that where or what are the sectors or what kind of career opportunities the undergraduate or postgraduate student will have after completion of this education or after 3 to 5 years of completion of education. So we have to envision where we want to see our students after 3 to 4 years of completion of their undergraduate degree or a postgraduate degree. If it is clear, then you can easily write the broad statements which represents the kind of career or a professional accomplishment in which the student will be engaged after completing the education. So the PEOs, how generally they are written? So it is very essential for board of study chairperson or the head of the department in autonomous institution to do a research about the global and local needs. He or she also should see the vision of the institution and long-term or short-term goals. So as I told you, if autonomous department is there, then they have a different approach. If a university board of studies is defining, then they can have their own way of writing the program educational objectives. But eventually, when you write PEOs, it is very important to do lot of research of the current trend market, and then you have to write the statements corresponding to program educational objectives, because it will be very clear to that board of studies or the HOD of the department that what kind of curriculum or credit structure has to be prepared in order that the student will find himself or herself in that good career or in that professional activity after completion of education, but at least 2 to 3 years, after 2 to 3 years of completion of the education. So this is all about PEO, and I suggest that there is a National Higher Education Qualification Framework. This document is available on the internet. If this document is read carefully, then this document gives very good idea about the different terminologies I shall be talking about, or I am talking about, like program educational objectives, or now the next term I'm going to talk about is a program outcome. Um, Sorry, this is an example of program educational objectives. I'll take up program outcomes later. Let me repeat that all the things I'm talking about are already included in your activities, and you are already aware of. It could be just a repetition or something. If you have missed, probably you will know after this the session is completed. So I have written two statements representing sample program educational objectives. So the graduate, the one statement I'll complete, and then I'll complete second statement. The graduate shall pursue successful career as design engineer in sectors like power system, electrical machine design, or a renewable energy. So this is one program educational objective written by a department of electrical engineering. Since I am from a department of electrical engineering, and sometimes I have developed program educational objectives for BTech program in electrical engineering. So I have brought this for you as a sample program educational objectives. See, I have written another PEO, and that goes this way. The graduate shall pursue successful career as an entrepreneur or and consultant in a power electronics and drive field. See, I am very clear where my student will be working. So you can clearly find the nature of job in which the student will be engaged, and the sectors also I have already defined, that my student will be working in power sector, my student will be working in the machine design sector, my student will be working in a renewable energy sector. Moreover, my student will also be working as a consultant or will become entrepreneur after completing the education. So I have already defined that I am I mean to say my board of studies or my team of professors I am leading. I'm head of the department, for example. So along with all my team members, we have suppose 3 to 4 program educational objectives written. Then we are very clear. We as academic leaders, we will be very clear that what kind of job or what kind of career we are preparing the students for. So we envision about the future of our students by writing program educational objectives. So having written this program educational objectives, now it is a time to write down program outcomes. Now see, while I write the program outcomes, I have to keep in mind these program educational objectives also. So it is not the case that program educational objectives are in isolation with, or they are written in isolation with the program outcomes. So see the hierarchy. The hierarchy is like this, that you are clear about what the student shall be doing after their completion of their education. And once that is clear, then it become very easy for me to write down the program outcomes, because I will be writing set of program outcomes, and these outcomes will be such that my program educational objectives will be achieved. So in order to achieve the program educational objectives, I need a set of program outcomes. Now, when it comes to program outcomes, there are two types of program outcomes, as you are aware. One is called generic outcome. We simply say program outcomes. And there are some say program specific outcomes. We call them as a PSO. Now, what these POs and PSOs are basically. So POs, as it is described or defined, that POs describe attributes like knowledge, skill, and attitude the students are expected to demonstrate by the time of graduation. So after the student complete the education, what knowledge we expect from the student, or what level of knowledge the student will have, what kind of skills the student will be equipped, and what will be the in improvement in the attitude of the student. Because when the student enter into say your campus, he or she will have certain attitude. So we also want that the attitude of student should change, because the student should be a lifelong learner. Once the student completes an education, then the student should have an attitude to learn on his own or her own. The student should not stop learning, because the technologies are evolving, the things are changing, and therefore the students need to keep learning throughout his or her professional life. So that ability we need to impart, and that attitude we need to inculcate, and therefore it is one of the program. I mean, it's a part of program outcome. So knowledge, skill, and attitude, these are very important components of the educational system, and we need to design our processes around these three important attributes. I just mentioned about a document called National Higher Education Qualification Framework. I suggest all the participants to download and read at least few pages in the beginning, because there are very good graduate attributes given, and these graduate attributes are very essential for students these days, because technology has been changing and the job market is a shrinking. So now it is a time that students should be different from only just a kind of student who can just remember few things and just for example understand few things. So we have to take the students from the first two levels of Bloom's taxonomy, as you know, the remember type of learning experience of student, and understand type of learning experience of a student. So in order to take them to the next level, there are certain graduate attributes specified in the booklet, and there are 15 such a graduate attributes, and these graduate attributes to be used to write down the program outcomes for a particular program. So again, this exercise is to be done by board of studies and head of the departments in the case of autonomous colleges. On other hand, there are a set of program specific outcomes. So under what condition the program specific outcomes to be written? So these are all generic program outcomes, although these outcomes are to be achieved through a specific core program. There are a set of program specific outcomes to be written, or can always be written for a particular program. Under what circumstances they can be written? They can be written specifically when the department, now this is more or less very important in the case of autonomous college or autonomous department, because you are preparing the curriculum based on the special facility available in the department, specific type of person is available in the department, or specific local conditions are available which permits additional knowledge. So under such a condition, program specific outcome becomes relevant. Otherwise, most of the program outcomes can fulfill the requirement of the program educational objectives. Now, I hope the part I talked about is clear to most of the participants who are new to this kind of terminologies. As stated before, the participants who have been engaged in academic activity for a long time are very well aware of these terminologies because they have been practicing, they're using. Probably they are monitoring their juniors, or they have the course file generally prepared based on all the things I discussed so far. Now, after having defined the program outcomes, the next is a sample program outcomes. So the few sample outcomes, in fact, now the syllabus is prepared under NEP 2020 for UG programs and PG programs in most of the states of this country and in most of the universities. And while preparing the syllabus or a credit structure followed by syllabus, all of you must have written program outcomes for your program. But as I stated before, it is very important that while you write a program outcome, you need to keep in your mind the important graduate attributes specified into national in the booklet or document which is available, and I mentioned it. It is a national higher education qualification framework. It talks about almost 15 graduate attributes, like just 3 to 4 I'll mention, and others are already there. Like it is very essential that our students should be able to solve complex problems, because you know that we have some kind of traditional educational degrees offered in colleges as well as in universities. These degrees, they adhere to specific discipline, and there is very less component of multidisciplinary courses. I mean, very few multidisciplinary courses are included, and even interdisciplinary kind of structure is also um, you know is not there in most of the cases. Now, of course, interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary type of credit structures are evolving in view of NEP 2020. But otherwise, the graduates earlier were having a knowledge of a specific discipline. But on other hand, if you do some market survey, and you will notice that the job market has changed. Job market requirements are different than the knowledge skill of the students completing their education. There's a gap. This gap is because the students are not generally equipped with you know multidisciplinary kind of education either, or the education experience is not aligned with the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So just give you an example, there are 3 to 4 important attributes which are mentioned in the document I stated. The first is a problem solving ability, but the problem is generally a multidisciplinary in nature. So students need to be equipped with knowledge from different disciplines, and then they should be able to solve the problem, or the students should be able to work in a team, a diverse team where the people are from different disciplines and they are working on the common objective. So problem solving aptitude is one of the important attribute which is stated in the book document I mentioned about. And the another attribute very important is students should be able to critically analyze the situation, or students should be able to rather design something which will have a better performance than the previously existing system or process. So these kind of attributes are stated in the document. So now program outcomes are to be written in alignment with those attributes, And on the screen, you can see some of the uh, statements representing sample program outcomes. I just mentioned about the term Bloom's taxonomy, and most of you are aware of the different levels of learning as far as Bloom's taxonomy is concerned. And generally, the first two levels are not, given more weightage, which is remember and understand. And then last four levels, starting from apply, analyze, evaluate, and design. So these last four levels are very important. And therefore, if you read the statements on the screen, you will notice that the program outcomes are written considering the action verbs corresponding to higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. For example, after completing the program, so I'm reading one sample program outcome. After completing the program, the learner will be able to apply. So this is the framework in which the POs are to be written. I have seen some of the syllabi on the university websites of different universities, and of course, in most of the cases, the syllabus which is available on the website is written in this format. But in certain cases, this kind of framework does not exist. So it is very essential for those beginners in today's session to understand that while the program outcomes are written, it should be written this way, that after completing this program, the learner will be able to apply scientific principles to identify, formulate, and solve real world problems. So this is your one of the program, and you can see the bold statements, and these bold statements are taken from the Bloom's taxonomy table. That means student, here I'm referring to the application level, third level of Bloom's taxonomy, and the ability to identify, ability to formulate, and ability to solve real world problem. So this particular program outcome will guide the entire syllabus properly, in order to, that the student will have that aptitude mentioned here, that he or she will be able to identify, formulate, and solve the problems. Moreover, you can see the second outcome where I'm referring to the last level of Bloom's taxonomy, and there's the fourth level also clubbed together. It is not good idea to write a statement with two Bloom's taxonomy, but still I have written here just for an example. So second sample outcome goes this way, that after completing the program, the learner will be able to design and conduct experiments to analyze and interpret the data using modern scientific tools and techniques. So see, this is another program outcome stated. All such statements written using appropriate action verbs available in the Bloom's taxonomy table will give a better understanding to the head of the department as well as the course teachers while delivering the content, I mean designing the teaching learning process, and also designing the assessment. So these statements, why these statements to be written? Because these statements will help to identify suitable courses, first of all, which will meet this requirement of program. And secondly, these statements also help us design our instructions, lesson plans, so that assessment accordingly can be carried out, and then it it can be possible, it will be possible to even cross check whether the program outcomes are met or not. So I hope you understood the way the program outcomes are to be written. Fine. I have continued to I have a few more program outcomes. You can just read the statements like demonstrate effective communication. See, this is also very important because this is mentioned in a national higher education qualification framework, that students should be able to communicate effectively. They should be able to function in a single discipline or multidisciplinary teams, and other things mentioned, like they should become a lifelong learners and so on. So these kind of say program outcomes to be written by each of the head of the department along with his or her team members or a board of studies chairperson. I think someone is doing annotation on the screen. Please check. I think it is done by someone. Please avoid doing it. Now, after having completed this part of program outcomes, there is a slide which shows the assessment of POs. So assessment of POs can be done as a direct tool, I mean by using direct tools or indirect tools. So as a part of even NAC or different accreditation processes, most of the teachers might be doing this, or head of the departments might be doing. Direct tool involve all the conventional instruments like examination, written test, lab, viva, or all these very simple instruments where you can properly measure uh, the performance of the students. Whereas there are indirect tools available. These indirect tools involve exit survey, parent feedback, examiner feedback, and so on. So weightage is generally decided by the department, and the weightage in the sense later on we will be doing attainment calculations, and therefore the weightage is specified here. So 80% weightage is generally given to the direct tools, and then 20% is given here in this case, but it is not hard and fast. Sometimes this indirect tool of assessment does not exist. You can have 100% assessment of PO done through examinations, written test, lab, and whatever more. But the perception of parents, outsiders, society, teachers, sorry, students can be captured by indirect tools, and the weightage can be as low as 5%, 10%, 2%, depending upon your requirement. Now, next, you have so far studied program educational objectives, which represents the career we are looking for. Then next was the program outcome. So these are the different program outcomes. I mean, we discussed about program outcomes a lot. And now, having written program outcomes, it is a time that we should identify the courses. For example, it is a course on, say, bioeconomics. So you have a BA economics course, sorry, program. So this BA economics program is a 3 or 4 year duration program, and you have a set of program outcomes. So you have 10 to 11 program outcomes for BA economics program. And now to achieve these program outcomes, you need to identify the courses. So you may have a set of courses wherein the education experience can be given through classroom teaching, or educational experience may be given through laboratory session, or maybe some kind of seminar, mini project, research project, internships, on the job training, or you may have even another other instrument which you believe is suitable. So by using or by identifying a set of courses, you can ensure that all the program outcomes stated before can be met. So to meet the program outcome requirement, you need a set of courses. For example, you have identified some roughly 25 to 30 courses, and these courses are spread over 3 to 4 years. So you have few courses at first year level, second year level, and like that. And these 30 to 35 courses will fulfill the requirement of achieving the program outcomes. So you have to now consider one specific course. See, the courses are generally offered to different teachers. So different professors, we call them as instructors. So different instructors are allotted these courses, and now it is a duty of this course instructor or a teacher to design the lesson plans. Now the lesson plans are to be designed such that the core program outcomes will be met. Some of the program outcomes will be met. See, for example, we have written 7 program outcomes, and I have one of the course, and this course is going to achieve only these 3 program outcomes. So demonstration of English knowledge, ability to work in multidisciplinary team, or ability to demonstrate that the student has become lifelong learner. So these 3 program outcomes can be achieved through one of the course. There may be another course which is only focusing on these first 2 program outcomes. The other course may be focusing on second and third. So you have several courses, and these courses together can be used to achieve all the program outcomes written. Now let us consider one typical course, and for that course we have to write course outcomes. Now, how to write course outcomes? That is a question. Let us try to understand the method of writing course outcomes. Already we have written program outcomes, so we are now very well aware of writing program outcomes. So writing course outcome is not different from writing program outcomes. Only the thing is, program outcomes are written at program level, whereas course outcomes are written at a course level. So course is a small subset of big bunch of courses, as I said before, and course is given to a specific teacher. So that teacher need to write course outcomes, and these course outcomes should be written keeping in the mind the program outcomes also. I am repeating again that you may have a course which will only fulfill the requirement of these 3 program outcomes. So accordingly, you need to write these course outcomes. So course outcomes are what students are required to demonstrate at the end of the course. See, I have used the word demonstrate. The word demonstrate is very important because if the student demonstrates, then we can observe and we can measure. So student should not just remember, but the student should demonstrate the learning. And therefore, demonstration of learning is very important, because ultimately the student in his or her professional life, he or she will be demonstrating the experience by doing some activities. So ability to demonstrate learning is very important than just knowing the something. So COs are what students are required to demonstrate at the end of the course. So after the course is completed, what students should be able to demonstrate, that represents CO. So CO should be observable and measurable. I told you, if demonstration takes place, demonstration of student knowledge reflect its observability, and it is possible to see the outcome, which will be clearly measurable in numbers. Moreover, course outcomes address the subset of POs and PSOs. I told you, your COs or your only one course will not address all the program outcomes. So it is likely that only uh, few of the program outcomes are met by the COs. So I repeat, if you are a new and if you are little aware of program outcomes, course outcomes, their attainment, then it is very important to for you to carefully go through this session and stay connected, or otherwise you need to refer the resources available on Swayam portal or NPTEL portal. So I have a prepared presentation based on my experience as well as the content which is available on NPTEL portal. And uh, uh, and yes, after this session is over, perhaps you will have a better understanding of preparation of your content or your lesson plans. So now, other point here with respect to the course outcome is the course outcomes are well defined using the Bloom's taxonomy and action verbs. So we need to use appropriate action verb and of the available in the Bloom's taxonomy table in order to write the course outcomes. So now I have written some sample course outcomes, and that should help you prepare or write your own course outcomes. Now, let me tell you once again that we have two kind of education systems in our case. We have affiliating colleges. I mean, all the colleges are affiliating, even though the college is autonomous, it is always an affiliated college. But if the college is a non-autonomous college affiliated to certain university, then the course outcomes are written at university level by a group of people in the board of studies or some other board which is relevant to the university. But if you belong to an institution or a department which is autonomous in nature, then the course instructor generally is involved in writing course outcomes. So in that case, uh, for an autonomous case, the teacher has full control over writing the course outcomes. But otherwise, the university level board of studies team or entire team of the members of board of studies, they are involved in writing course outcomes. And these course outcomes are to be very carefully written for every course. Now here, मी नाही बोलू शकत 2 तास मीटिंग चालू आहे म्हणून. Now here, one of the sample course outcome is written here. It goes this way, that at the end of the course or after completion of the course, the student will be able to, that statement is not written here, the student will be able to calculate major and minor losses associated with fluid flow in piping network. So after the completion of the course, the student will be able to calculate. See, calculate is a kind of action verb here. Now let us break down this CO into different parts. And you will notice that in this CO, the action is calculate. It's a third level of Bloom's taxonomy. It has a knowledge component also. So what knowledge it has got? The knowledge related with fluid flow in piping network, some kind of conceptual and procedural knowledge. Is there any condition? No. Is there any criteria? No. So it has an action, it has a knowledge part. So this is fine. This is good way of writing your CO. So this is one sample. You can have another sample wherein you can notice, I'll read this for you. It goes this way. At the end of the course, the student will be able to determine the root of given equation accurate to second decimal place using Newton-Raphson method. So this is from mathematics, for example. And what is expected from the student is that the student will be able to determine something using something. So how it is written? See, action. It is determine is an action verb. It is third level of Bloom's taxonomy. It has a knowledge component. So what knowledge, conceptual knowledge the student will get? The student will be able to find the root of given equation. So that is a conceptual and procedural knowledge. What is a condition? There are several methods of doing so. So here there is a condition. The student should use Newton-Raphson method to understand or to be able to do so. So there is a condition also involved, and criteria is also there. It is like accurate to second decimal point. So this action, knowledge, condition, and criteria. So these are the four important elements of any CO, and those elements to be considered while the course outcome is written. So this is the way the course outcome can be written, and a senior professor or a professor involved in education activities for a long time for a specific course will know the depth to which the student need to study the course, and accordingly the course outcomes may be written by the concerned professor who deals with the course. But this is some framework which always should help the participants to define the course outcome very accurately. Now, so far we discussed program educational objectives. We also discussed program outcomes. We also discussed course outcomes. And now it is a time that how these course outcomes and program outcomes are linked with each other. Why all these things are there in first place? So I told you just now that we have a set of courses. Sorry, we have a program outcomes written for a specific program. So it may be PO1, PO2, PO3 to even PO10, 11. And we have one specific course, and this course has got five course outcomes. Now these five course outcomes will be linked with different POs. Now you can see CO number 1 is linked with PO number 1, but CO number 1 is not linked with other POs. Similarly, CO2 is linked with two POs and so on. So now again, what is this 1, 2, and 3? So 1 represents that there is a strong coupling, strong connection between CO3 and PO1, where 2 represents the moderate connection between, I mean, a strength of coupling between CO and PO, basically it is. So there is a moderate connection between CO1 and PO1 represented by 2, and somewhere 3 represents a weak connection. So analysis of distribution feeder, this CO is linked with PO3, but there is a weak connection. So these are the different ways in which this is called CO-PO matrix actually, and this is actually needed in order to calculate the PO attainment as well. I request participant to kindly stay connected, but please do not annotate the screen. The learning will take place better if there is no disturbance. I have a sincere request that let us participate in the learning process, and it will be very good experience to all participants also. So now we will come to this matrix later on also, but as for the sake of completeness, I have brought this slide wherein you can understand the connection between CO and PO. And I also request participant to be equipped with questions also at the end, because your questions will help me, discuss better about this topic, because certain things are generally missed while discussing. However, a question if it is asked, then those questions can help other participants also, and it will help for me to even explain better and even to learn something from the participants as well, because there are many participants who are likely to have even better understanding of some of the slides, and their knowledge can also help to other participants as well. Now, this is a typical, flow chart. We'll come to this later also. But if you observe this slide carefully, you will notice that we are talking about CO attainment. And I just mentioned that the CO attainment can be direct and indirect. I'll come to that direct and indirect later on. So direct attainment of CO is done, as you know, by written test, by Viva, mini project, field training, research project, seminar, workshop. So these are different instruments through which the assessment is done. By using different instruments, you use different methodology. A continuous assessment, end semester examination, unit tests, presentations. So you have to make use of some kind of methodology to evaluate or to assess the learning of students in your course, and give it to 80% weightage. Okay, this is a course by one person, the second person, third person, so on. So there are n number of courses in that specific program, and they're using different methodologies of assessment, and uh, it has been given weightage of 80%. And there's a course end survey. So you take an interview of a student, that how was the course, whether student got benefited, some kind of Google form, for example, given to the students. So that is called indirect assessment, and 20% weightage is given, right? So the 80% coming from the direct way of assessing the students, and 20% coming from the indirect. And then this 100% assessment representing, here there are a set of COs, there are set of COs, there are set of COs. So all the set of COs corresponding to different instruments are combined, and then program attainment is done. So first the attainment, there are 10 teachers, suppose 20 teachers, or 20 teachers participate in the CO attainment process. And once they finish their CO attainment, their combined result will give PO attainment. So now attainment calculation is very important, because if you don't do attainment, then there is no point in writing PO and CO. I have seen some universities and some colleges where teachers just, or departments write their CO, PO, they are very well displayed on the notice board. Everything is very well, but there is no measurement. There is no attainment calculation. So if you don't do attainment calculation, there is no point in writing CO and PO. If you're not measuring outcome, then what is the use of the process? So in order to check whether attainment is done or not, it is very essential that you should measure it. And once the measurement is done, then you will know where is your, what you're doing is really in a right direction, or you need to change the direction. Because if you continue to teach the same thing without bothering the end project, end result, if the end result is not checked, cross checked, then you will never improve your process. You will continue to teach same thing, every year without bothering the outcome, and then you will probably not be able to know whether your students are performing or whether your students are not performing. So I mean to say, the students are expected to perform in their professional life, and the performance of the professional life is highly dependent on the educational experience gained by the student. It is different case that student, after completing the education, upgrade themselves by going through some more learning activities. But the lifelong learning kind of attribute which was included in your academic process is helping that student to learn on his own or on her own. Therefore, the performance of the student is generally or largely depend on the educational experience only. So moving further, we will take up some quick uh, case studies or say a procedure for doing an attainment calculation. So we started at 2:30 and I hope we have now completed almost 1 hour of discussion. We have half an hour of content still there. So within next 25 to 30 minutes, we should be able to finish most of the part of my presentation. At least CO attainment calculation we should be able to do, and then we can quickly rush through the PO attainment. And that is how it will be possible for the participant to gain a better understanding of the whole exercise which we are talking about. So now we are getting into attainment part, how to attain, calculate the attainment calculations. Because I just stated without attainment calculations are very important to cross check whether the outcome is as per the specifications written before starting the teaching learning process. Specifications, I mean to say the course outcomes and hence the program outcomes. So setting CO attainment. First of all, before you start teaching or giving educational experience to the students, it is very essential that the teacher should check all the course outcomes. So first the teacher has written, I assume the teacher is working in an autonomous institution and the teacher has written the course outcomes. And now, according to course outcomes, the teacher will be designing the lesson plan and then assessment also. Now, before the teaching learning process starts, it is very essential for teacher to set some targets. So how the teacher can set some targets? So there are a number of ways the teacher can do some set some targets for each CO. The one way is that the teacher can conduct some uh, discussion with the new student, because see, the semester has started. It is your first day. You have entered into classroom. Students have joined and it is a classroom type of experience. Suppose if it is laboratory, then also it applies equally. So in classroom, suppose you enter and then the first class or first day, you can always study the students. I mean to say that you can identify some base level. Maybe you can have your own instruments to measure the base level of the students by conducting some kind of multiple choice questions to check the knowledge of the students before the students take up your course. So it is a pre-test kind of situation I am talking about. So you have developed some kind of questionnaire or MCQs which are very basic to your course, and then you have handed over the questionnaire to the students without teaching anything. And then uh, after that the assessment of that students responses is done by you, and then you will know the level or the basic knowledge level of the students. So after knowing that, and since you know the course outcome 1, 2, 3, 4, and these COs are these COs are referring to some specific condition. CO1 is, for example, application of knowledge. CO2 is about analysis of knowledge. CO3 is, for example, decision making type of situation. CO4 is design type of activity. So you know all the levels of COs, and you also now know the students. So you can, based on your research which you have done on day one, based on your research about the students, you can set some targets. So some methodology you need to adapt in order to write, okay, CO1 is 70%. That means your expectation is that after your course is completed, after say 3 months of teaching learning process, and if you check that in CO1 the student performance is 70%, then you can say that CO1 is satisfactorily achieved. CO2, you may expect 80% achievement, and so on. Whereas CO4 is 65, for example. Why? Because you noticed that your students have some kind of knowledge gap in certain area, in which corresponds to CO4. So in that case, you are expecting that 65% achievement is far better, or is much better than I mean, it is your best judgment that 65% achievement in CO4 is fairly good performance of the students. So based on your own methodology, your own research, your own strategy, you can set the targets, but always try to use some kind of methodology to set this target instead of arbitrarily writing this. Having this done, you have written on your on a page that you expect the attainment percentage of this much number for different COs. This is very, and generally in certain colleges there is IQAC cell. So the IQAC cell issue an instruction that all the teachers should submit their CO targets on the day one or after 2 or 3 days. So first 3 days, the teacher do the research about the students' knowledge, skill, attitude, and accordingly all the targets are set, and these targets are then submitted to IQAC cell, and then accordingly based on your target set, now you prepare your lesson plan, because you have to now decide a suitable instruction methodology, maybe I would say a suitable pedagogy, maybe innovative pedagogy. You may use some, nowadays people talk about ICT, and a lot of ICT based instruments available, or the many kind of innovative practices. There are many journals of education research. You can study some journal also, that what is the best approach to teach this course, and then you can adopt that teaching methodology uh, to say achieve your course outcome targets. So after deciding the different methodology of delivering the sessions in the classroom, and accordingly preparing your presentations, your lesson plans, those might be activity based. Nowadays activity based lesson plans are expected, and then students remain engaged in the activities instead of passive kind of learning practice. Maybe I generally suggest a flipped classroom type of strategy, because nowadays technology is readily available. You can record your lectures and you can share already on by keeping them on YouTube. You can ask them come prepared and present themselves, or participate in a project based learning where the project is given into the classroom, open-ended question is given. So there are different ways through which you may initiate a teaching learning process, because your whole idea is to make sure that you are achieving the target through appropriate methodology. So after you have completed the course appropriately, and see, while you deliver the course in the classroom or in the laboratory session or maybe any other approach, you have to use a continuous assessment method also, because the learning of student at various stages need also to be captured. We call it as a kind of a formative assessment or a continuous assessment. And these days, now all the universities are giving a reasonable weightage to internal assessment or a continuous assessment, where learning is tracked every during every lecture or after every lecture. So 50% reasonably, 50% in our SNDT Women's University, I have proposed, and it has been there also in the since past, that 50% of the assessment is done through activities as a part of continuous assessment, and remaining 50% is done by semester end examination, where the students are given question paper, and then based on the questions they write the answers on the answer books, and those are evaluated. So now direct attainment. Now, as far as attainment of CO is concerned, so first step is to calculate the CO attainment. CO attainment is done at course level, remember. So if you are a teacher dealing with some course, then this is your duty to do attainment calculations at the end of this course. But if you are a head of the department, in addition to being a teacher, and as a teacher you will do this CO attainment, but as a head of the department, your duty will be to do PO attainment also, with the help of your department IQAC coordinator. So these are the PO attainment we will talk about in a later part. So attainment of CO can be done by direct attainment method or indirect attainment method. So there are two approaches, direct and indirect. Direct and indirect because I spoke about direct attainment and indirect attainment in one of the slide. Now, direct attainment of CO can be determined from performance of student in all relevant assessment instruments. So, direct attainment means you use your, a written type of assignment or MCQ test, or actually these are not permitted. I just told you that activity based internal assessment or continuous assessment is very relevant nowadays. Instead of multiple choice questions or written test, unit test, these are not these days encouraged. Rather, project kind of activities are encouraged as a part of continuous internal assessment. So performance of student in such a all the assessment instruments to be assessed. And see, when you use written test, MCQ, or even project, then measurement of performance of student is very easy, because how the student is performing in the project or how the student is performing in the unit test, MCQ, can be easily measured in a suitable manner. So direct assessment is always an easy way of assessing the student knowledge or student performance rather. Hence, this is very important. Every assessment item need to be tagged with a relevant CO. So I will demonstrate you this statement. No worries. This means that everything you do should be linked with one CO. Any kind of assessment you do should have a connection with one of the CO or multiple COs. So we need, and then one more thing. So we need a data about purpose of student assessment item wise. Fine. So now this slide can be better understood if I show you probably this slide later on. But meanwhile, let me finish these two slides as well. This is again, see, I told you same thing is there. Every assessment item need to be tagged with the relevant CO. And I also talked about continuous assessment. And there is one more type of assessment examination, your student undergo end semester examination. So there also the performance of student has to be measured for CO attainment calculations. And now these 2 points are very important. In autonomous college, entire assessment data is available item wise. So I'll come to this point later on. In non-autonomous, question-wise marks are not available. See, if you are not autonomous college and your examination is conducted by university, for example, then you will never get question-wise mark of students. How much marks are obtained by student in every question? This data is not available easily to your office as a teacher if your students are appearing for examination conducted by university. But if you are autonomous, for example, and then that every college need to be autonomous, so that entire assessment data is available in the controller of examination office of your autonomous college, and then it will give you a better assessment of the student learning in the case of autonomous college. But we will find out, I mean, as suggested in one of the NPTEL video, I will suggest you that method of attainment calculation if your college is not autonomous college. See, the third bullet represents the proportion between um, internal and ex continuous in end semester. So I told you in some colleges now 50% assessment is continuous assessment and 50% assessment is now these things, even external assessment. Fine. Now, indirect attainment, very quickly, course exit surveys are done. I mean, you have to just take an interview of your student to know. This is informal way, formal way. You talk to student after examination that how was the paper, how was the performance. I mean, their performance of learning I mean, before examination also, after you finish your 36-40 lectures, you can have a last lecture, and during last lecture also you can talk to student and capture the information about the learning. That is called indirect learning. So sorry, indirect assessment. So indirect assessment generally carries only 10% weightage, or you can even eliminate indirect assessment, not necessarily. If your IQAC department or head of the department, or your principal of the college or university departments, or maybe IQAC director of university has got some guidelines about what should be the percentage of say indirect assessment, then all have to follow the common guidelines set by the university, college, departments, whatever. Now, this is an example which will help us understand that how the attainment calculations are done. So, if you observe this slide carefully, and I have borrowed this slide from one of the NPTEL course on accreditation. So, you can always find this slide and most of the content in the NPTEL video on accreditation. So this slide is for Tier 1 college. Tier 1 college means the college which is non-autonomous college and the examination is conducted by the university. So continuous assessment is the first instrument we will talk about, and semester end examination is the second instrument we'll talk about later. So now you are a teacher and internal assessment or continuous assessment is full within your control. So now you have already 6 COs of your course, and let us assume that you as a teacher, you have a 5 different instruments available which you will be using to study the student learning. So assignment 1, assignment 2, T1, T2, test 1, test 2. You may have a project 1, project 2, something like that. Anything you can have. You can have only 2 projects, project 1, project 2, and these things will not be there. But for example purpose, I have taken this assignment 1, assignment 2, T1 and 2. So these kind of these assignments and tests will be spread throughout the semester. So throughout semester, you will keep your students engaged with regard to all these examination processes, and then you will be able to understand better the performance of the students during the classroom or during the semester, right? Now look at carefully CO1, CO2, and CO6 up to CO6. So A1 is assignment number 1 for 5 marks, assignment number 2 for 5 marks, test for 15 marks, test 2 for 15 marks. So total how much? 15, 15, 30, and 40. So 40 marks of continuous assessment. You have prepared action plan. So CO1, you have given say test number 1, which is directly mapped with CO1. So all the questions in the test 1 are directly addressing to CO1. Likewise, you have your assignment number 1 is directly linked with CO2, and test number 1 is also linked with CO2. So this way you have created a matrix by distributing all the 40 marks. So some tests are addressing CO1, CO2, some assignments are addressing CO5. So something like that, you have distributed your assessment plan. But you can notice that none of the CO is left unaddressed. Something is addressed by either assignment 1, assignment 2, test 1, and test 2. So if this kind of matrix is prepared, then you are evaluating your students' achievement with respect to COs, all the COs. So CO achievement has been, you know, CO attainment calculations are done by using the 4 instruments. Now let us go to the next. So now some calculations are there which you have to understand and which you have to do also in once you know start teaching in the upcoming semester. So now you have a COs written over here, and now your students have undergone this examination, and you have marks of the all students. So we will consider average marks. For example, see here, CO1. So 3.3 is the average marks obtained by all the 60 students. For example, you are having 60, 50, whatever, 100 students in the classroom, and they appeared for an examination for 5 marks. And after the assessment, you have done average of all the marks of all students, and it is 3.3. Likewise, you can see you have found average everywhere. So it can be converted into percentage here. So you have done this 3.3 by 5, and corresponding percentage is 66. So 66% is achievement, attainment through continuous assessment for CO1. So to what extent CO1 is attained? 66% through continuous assessment. Your CO2 is attained 80%. So likewise, you can notice that you have your CO's attainment calculation done through your this continuous assessment type of instruments. So hope you understood this calculations. No, I was just talking to you that if you're autonomous college, look at the question paper. See the question number 1, A, B, something like that. And see, every question has CO1, CO2, CO3 written. So your entire question paper is also mapped with CO1, CO2. And here you can notice that the Bloom's taxonomy is also used to prepare a question. Plan, propose, explain, justify, explain, develop. So these are the action verbs which are used, and essentially these all action verbs are representing higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy. And every question is mapped with the CO. So now you are autonomous college, suppose, then for every student you have a marks corresponding to every question available to you. So for question number 1A, which is mapping with CO1, and it is for 6 marks, and the marks obtained are available by the student are available in the first column. So likewise, and these are total marks obtained by the students. So you have now entire information if you are autonomous. But if you are non-autonomous, then you don't have these columns available. That means this one question 1A to 2C, these columns are not available. You will directly get total marks. So how much a particular student obtained, a total marks out of say 25, because this examination was for 25, right? So this is an end semester examination which is conducted by university in a non-autonomous college. Then you don't have access to the question-wise marks. Hope you are clear about the availability of data in the case of autonomous as well as non-autonomous type of colleges. Now consider the first one, that is non-autonomous. I am talking about non-autonomous because most of the colleges, at least today, are in a non-autonomous format. And now the autonomy is now sought by the colleges by achieving those grades and all. So for non-autonomous college, sorry, this is tier 1, this is autonomous college. Tier 1 means autonomous college and tier 2 means non-autonomous college. So for tier 1, which is autonomous, you have marks according to the questions. So CO wise marks are available. So you can always average these marks and you can prepare this table. In semester examinations, the CO1 is attained by 63%. This 63 is the average on the scale of 100. Suppose the question paper was for 100 marks. So out of 100, for CO1, the student average is 63. See, this is average for that CO. I think I already displayed this slide and you understand that you have to simply take the average. So once you take the average, you will have, see now CO1 has at how many places? 1, 2, and 3. So you have to average out all. And then average out, assume that this is for 100 marks. So once you average out of 100, you will write the marks here for CO1, then CO2, CO3, and so on. So this kind of table, you will be able to derive if you are working in an autonomous college, and that is for your course, your subject, right? So now some attainment calculations are done here. So now recall, this is your continuous assessment you have done just as a part of internal assessment. And this is a semester end examination where also you obtain CO and then corresponding class average. So class average for every CO is obtained through in a semester end examination, and already you have this information for continuous assessment. So now these two columns are written here side by side corresponding to each CO, and you can set a weightage. For example, the weightage, and this is was from on the scale of 100. See, both columns are on the scale of 100. So now you have your college or your department have some strategy. For example, you believe 50% end semester examination and 50% assessment weightage is to the continuous. So accordingly, this formula is to be arranged. At present, I have written 40% weightage to continuous assessment and 60% weightage to the semester end examination. So in that case, the averaged numbers are written in this last column. Now this gives you overall attainment through continuous assessment as well as through semester end examination. And you notice that CO1 has been attained to be 64.2%, CO2 68, and so on. So this is how the attainment calculation are done if you are autonomous college. But suppose you are not autonomous college. I'll come to that. There's one more step before we conclude this college one case. So this is all direct assessment. Why direct? Because you have a direct control over continuous assessment, continuous internal examination, and direct control over semester end examination, and these are all measurable. So this is called direct attainment because they are measured by some number or by very good instruments called theory paper or project or whatever. Now, indirect assessment means you conduct interview with the student by giving them Google form, that how was the learning experience, whether CO1 is understood clearly or not, CO something like that. I mean, you can have your own way of designing a question Google form and circulate it among all the students, and then they gave some answers on the scale of 100. So on the scale of 100, they gave this third column. So this column just we derived here, second column we derived here, direct CO attainment. This is a combination of continuous internal assessment as well as end semester examination. So we have written CO1 64.2, and now through your indirect assessment you have 78% achievement of the attainment through indirect method. And then we have only given 10% weightage to indirect and 90% weightage to the direct attainment, and then you take average, and finally you get that CO1 is attained 60%, 66, CO2 70, CO3 65. So this is the total CO attainment in percentage in a rounded off numbers. So I hope those who are in autonomous colleges, they have got clear idea about CO attainment calculations. But if you are not from autonomous college, then what? So here there is a simple way. I'll come to that. Okay, I directly skip some slides and I'll come to those slides later on. So if you are from, say, non-autonomous college, your syllabus and question papers are controlled by affiliating university. So as I told you before, you don't have access to the marks obtained by the student in each question. So there were 5 questions, suppose, in a semester end examination. You will not get question wise marks. You will directly get how much marks are obtained by a particular student in your course on the grade card. So in that case, see, first part remains same. There is no change in the first part. What was the first part? First part was a continuous assessment. For example, assignment 1, test 1. So only 25 marks are there, for example. And you'll convert to the percentage so that it will be on the scale of 100 later on. So this is continuous assessment, which is not a big problem for you because you have direct control over all these marks. So the first part remains same as before. So this is done here. See, the same table I have reproduced by taking average performance in assignment 1, test 1, test 2, and so on. And then this is attainment of students CO wise in continuous assessment examination, continuous internal examination. So internal examination is not a problem. But now external examination. So what is done in external examination, I'll tell you. So here, see the column number 2. You have only average, you have only the marks obtained by the students. What you do, suppose you have 60 number of students, 60, and all the students have obtained different total marks because you only know the total marks. So you take the average of marks obtained by all students on the scale of 100, and then that will become, and then you give it to all CO. So every CO receives same attainment. I think you got my point. Here what I'm trying to tell you, that since you do not have access to the question wise marks, you have access to final marks. Take the average and write in front of each CO. So the average mark obtained by the student in that semester and examination represents the attainment of all COs. So 63, 63. So you can see 63 at every place because the 63 are the average marks obtained by all students in your examination, in your paper. So in your course, the average marks obtained by all students on the scale of 100 were 63. So we are talking on the scale of 100. So therefore I have written 63. Now, the first part was also on the scale of 100 because we converted into percentage and converted on the scale of 100. So 58 on the scale of 100, 73. So this is a continuous internal assessment achievement, CO wise, that is written. This is semester end, which is same because I don't have access to question wise marks. And now, for example, since this is on a scale of 100, I have to decide how much weightage to be given to the internal, how much weightage to be given to the how much weightage to be given to the internal assessment, how much weightage is to be given to the semester examination. If it is 50-50, then 50.5, 0.5. But in present case on the slide, you can notice that the continuous assessment has been given 0.25 weightage, and then 75 for the end semester, and then direct CO attainment is done here. So you take the average of each row, 58, 63 average, 73, 63 average. So you have obtained the CO attainment as far as direct CO attainment is concerned, and that you have done for two instruments. One is your internal assessment and another is a semester end. And now, as before, you also conducted your exit survey. I mean, you conducted indirect assessment, CO attainment rather, by giving them questionnaire, Google form, and you asked them about their experience on the scale of 100. And on the scale of 100, they said they could comfortably understand CO1 78%, CO2 they could comfortably understood rather 85, and so on. This is perception basically, their own perception they have written. And then this is on the scale of 100, this is also on the scale. So direct attainment is on the scale of 100, indirect CO attainment is also on the scale of 100. So now you give only 10%, generally 10% or 5% weightage is given to the indirect CO attainment, and rest is given to the measure is given to the, and not necessarily you can eliminate this column, and the 100% direct CO attainment is the final total attainment. But if I consider 10% weightage to the indirect CO attainment, then the net total CO attainment in the case of non-autonomous colleges can be written like this. So you learn here that how the attainment calculations are done in your case. So now I'll closing the gap. This is a slide common to tier 1 and tier 2. Now, for example, after doing all these exercise, after that semester is over, examination is over, assessment is done, and you found these numbers. That CO attainment, CO1 attainment is 63, CO2 67, CO6 67. This is your achievement now. You took lot of efforts. You tried your level best to convey the content to your students. You try to give a very good educational experience by using your innovative methods. You recorded your video lectures, you shared them, you invited them in the classroom, gave them project, brainstorming, everything possible you did it. And final the learning why the student is captured by doing some calculations, and this learning was defined in terms of COs. So your entire course was described in terms of COs. So actually your course outcomes represents your syllabus only. CO1 represents a part of syllabus, CO2 represents a part of syllabus, not directly, but in a broad sense. You have written COs because you want that the student should learn that, or they do that, because learn by doing, or what the student will be able to do is more important than what the student will be knowing. So after all the efforts taken by the teacher, your attainment have reached to this level. Now you will compare this with your set target. I told you in the beginning that you already set the target and you submitted your targets to your IQSC or your head of the department, and now you are committed. You have a liability. So you deposited your document and you committed that I will taking all efforts to achieve these COs. And now it is a time to compare. So the comparison is done here, and you can see you overachieved. You set 60%, For CO1, you got 63. So that's wonderful. But for CO2, you set 75% and you achieved only 67. So you can notice that somewhere you have not performed, somewhere you have performed better. Now what to do? This is the result, final result for the teacher. So you have good results as well as bad results. So if you have done excellent, then what you can do next time, you can set the target further. For example, you set it to 60%, you got 63. Now for next cycle, when new students will be coming, you will make it 70, and then you will keep improving. But you have to try different instructional methodologies also, because when new student comes, then the benchmark may be different. So you have now more experience, you are a better version of yourself, so you are more equipped, better equipped to with your lesson plan. You can better design your instructions and give better educational experiences to the students. Naturally, you set higher target and you struggle to achieve those things. But wherever you are not achieved, then you have to revisit to your lesson plan. You have to check, you have to analyze yourself what went wrong, why the students have not achieved that CO, and then you take some action. So you may have any action. For example, CO2 was not achieved properly, CO1 was better achieved, so you increase the target. CO2 was suppose explain this, so this was your CO2, but you are sort of 8%. So you, what you will do, so your actions are written here. So you will do you will write your actions very clearly, remember. And again, you have to submit this document, because this is a kind of process where you are continuously submitting your document to your IQSC cell. Your IQSC cell is continuously monitoring the quality of education. So you submit, you commit yourself that next time you will be doing, maybe you can improve your instruction pedagogy. You will take the students to the industry visit. You will hold some workshop. You will invite industry person. You will give more learning resources. You will simplify the content, whatever you have committed. So you write there, submit to IQSSL, and then make sure that next time you are having evidences that yes, you are doing that. So this is the way the action plan has to be submitted. Some things are there. While you submit action plan, you cannot simply say that I will motivate students, I will encourage students, I will do. So political statements are avoided here. I mean to say that just vague statements are to be avoided here, that we will be doing this and that. Because if that statement you are writing as an action plan is not measurable, if it is not specific, then it is very difficult to implement also. So vague statements, work hard, student will work hard, and this and that. Some these are the fuzzy statements, the vague statements, and cannot be part of your action plan. So that is how you will have your action plan done. So I think this is I tried my level best to explain you how you will design your curriculum, rather course outcomes, how will be designing your writing your course outcomes, how you will be designing your lesson plans, how you will be using the different instruments of assessment, implementing those instruments, assessing them, calculation of CO attainment, and then eventually you know measuring the performance of your students in terms of CO attainments, and then preparing action plan for the next cycle. Now this is a course level, and every professor of the department will be doing this action. So program outcome is something for a specific batch. For example, a student enters in year 2024 and complete the education in 2027. So for 24 to 27, program outcome or PSO attainment calculations are to be done. So for a specific batch, the attainment calculations for program are to be done, And this is a role of the head of the department, particularly along with his or her IQSC, department IQSC coordinator, because they have to collect the information from all the course teachers for that specific batch. And all the COs will ultimately fulfill the requirement of PO. But now see, the teacher has one more role to play. The teacher has uh, calculated his or her CO attainments, and now the role of teacher is to see to what extent these COs are addressing POs. So that matrix I displayed, that CO PO attainment matrix comes in picture. Okay, so now there are a few similar slides what I talked about and similar calculations with slight difference. And I will just rush through that. You have a POs now. These are department program POs, and you have to, what you have to do, every course teacher will prepare this table, that which are the COs mapping with PO1. This table you can see CO1 and CO3 of specific course mapping the PO1, while CO2 is mapping the PO2, while these COs are mapping PSO1, while other POs are not in written here. See, up to 5 are written, 6, 7, 8, 9 are missing. That means this course is not addressing to those POs. So this way, you prepare a table, and then see here the mapping strength. For example, this CO1 and CO2, only 11 lectures are there. Suppose you have total 68 lectures, so CO1 and CO2 CO3 includes 11 lectures, so 11 lectures out of 63. So if you find out the percentage, then percentage is 60 per 16%. Whereas here you can see that PSO1 is addressed by so many. So, or maybe you can say PSO10 for that matter, or maybe PO5. PO5 is addressed by these many COs, CO4, CO5, CO6, PO5 particularly. So the contribution of the course is 44. I mean 44 lectures are required here to address CO4, CO5, and CO6, and therefore PO5, the PO5 is largely contributed by this course. So therefore you can see, I think I told you this way only. If I told you in other way, please correct it. 3 means a strong coupling, 1 means weak coupling, okay, and then 2 means moderate coupling. So this is mapping strength of that particular CO with respect to PO. Okay, so this 16% represents CO1 and CO3. So the CO1 and CO3 are very weakly coupled to PO1, whereas you can see these COs are strongly coupled, right? You can see this is strongly coupled with a coupling level 3. So these numbers you have to use in the calculations also. So this is the another way of representing same slide. And then this is another way of writing. I think I just told you this is another way of writing all these things. This is a COPO matrix, and here you are taking average of all for that course. You can say the average of all. So average is written here. So this is a mapping strength, average mapping strength is written. Okay, I'm just rushing through. This is an attainment calculation. This is not a big deal. You can understand average attainment of the relevant COs, scale factor, and all those things. This is done here. I'll show this how the attainment is done very quickly. So the CO attainment is done as before. We will not talk about. Already we did it. See here it is done. PO1 attainment because of this course. Okay, so 1 by 3. So this formula is used simply. Average attainment, the scale factor, actually the scale factor is 1 because these are having mapping strength 1. So 1 by total. Total is 3. 1 by 3. Average is for CO1 and CO3 63, 67. So that is written divided by 2 because only two numbers are there, these two. So divided by 2. So 22%. Whereas CO2 is also mapping strength is 1. So 1 by 3, 67, because CO2 is a 67 in the 22. Whereas the PO3, so see here, so 3 by 3 because mapping strength is 3 and total strength is also 3. So 3 by 3, CO4, CO5, CO6 are respectively 68, 63 and 67 divided by 3. So 66% of the attainment by all these three COs to the PO3. So that is how all your these COs are contributing to PO, and that contribution is here. So 22, 22, 66, 66, it is contribution of this particular course to the POs, and only these POs, see, PO 1 to 5, 10 and PSO 1. So this has to be done by every teacher. So what will happen? See, for example, this is by this teacher, this row attainment, first teacher, second teacher, third teacher. So it will look like this. So this is the first teacher, second teacher, third teacher, and then you find out the average of each column. So these are all POs. You can see there are 12 POs at the top, and there are two POs. So once you average out the contribution of all the courses in every column, then you can find complete PO attainment calculation. And then again, direct, indirect, I'll just leave it because you know it. And then it will look like this. This kind of, I'll leave this presentation to you so that you can understand. And this is how, these are all different subjects, your courses, and these are the attainment of different POs. So at the bottom, you will get the PO attainment of program attainment because of all the courses. So the matrix is like this, all the POs, and then in the row, and all the columns representing at the left column representing all the courses with the corresponding CPOs. So that is how you will get it. And then again, same thing that you have to check to what extent your target is met, because again, see, I forget to tell you here, just before you set a target for every CO and submit it to IQSC, the HOD will also set a target for all the POs and submit to IQSC. And after PO attainment calculation, the HOD has to compare the set value of PO and the achieved value of PO by effort of all teachers. And if there is a gap between two, then HOD has to take corrective actions. So the improvement plan by the HOD may be, of course, in consultation with all the teachers, that add extra communication lab, because a particular PO was addressing laboratory experience. So you have to improve the more laboratory session, something like that, workshop to, because particular PO was communication skill, for example, and you found that the communication skill is very weak because that PO was not achieved. So you have to then take corrective action. So this is how I think I request the coordinator to jump into the session now, because I have almost covered curriculum development, right from program educational objectives, CO attainment, PO attainment, closing the quality loop, and so on. So the whole content I delivered in 2 days, almost 2 hours of session, was derived. It's my experience when I attended one workshop, sometimes in 2009. I have appeared for one course on NPTEL, and then I attended several people, and I learned many things from eminent speakers, and my own practice has made it possible for me to present this content. And I hope most of the participants must be benefited by this session. So thank you so much. And I invite now the coordinator to take control.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So participants, if any question, you can raise the hands.
Sir, have you unmuted the people so that they can ask?
Okay. I will permit it to all participants. Okay.
There is one feedback here by one person. Nice, deep explain regarding COPO. This is good. But some question will boost my confidence. Okay, sir. If these participants have no question, then probably it means that I could communicate the content very effectively either, or there was something wrong.
Pick 110. So 110, you can unmute themselves. And then
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Sir, good afternoon.
Yes, madam.
Sir, my question is a non-autonomous college means tier 2? Something, sir, repeat because I not understand very well this tier 2.
Madam, actually, in my discussion, I consider two types of colleges. See, are you from university or a college?
College.
College. So whether you are a part of affiliating university or you are a separate university itself.
It's affiliated.
So are you autonomous college or non-autonomous?
It's a autonomous college.
Perfect. So if you're autonomous, then see on the screen, this kind of question paper, you have to, your college, I mean, you see, can you see the question paper, madam, here on the screen?
Yeah.
See, when you prepare question number 1, for example, see, it has got 6 marks and I have written CO1. So do you do
Okay.
this in your college? Do you prepare question paper of this type? See,
Yeah.
question is written and CO is also written. So this question is addressing to CO1 of the course. Do you I mean, do you set question paper for your course?
Yeah.
So do you write course outcomes next to each question?
It's good. Yeah. 6. So, yeah.
No, do you write COs in each question paper? All your question papers?
Not right in CO, but this 6 in means this question.
6 is a marks because this
Yeah.
plan the long, medium, and short term planning strategies. This is a question, and it was for 6 marks, and it is addressing CO1 of your course, for example. Likewise, you can see question number 2A. There is some kind of numerical question, and it is for 4 marks, and it is addressing to CO2. Similarly, question 2B, develop the expression of voltage drop and power loss for rectangle geometric configuration. This is a question for 5 marks, and it is mapping to CO3. So do you prepare question paper of this type in your case?
Something sometimes, but in this not CO, like these questions objectives is, for example, is 30 marks paper, right?
Yes.
So the 10 marks is objective and 20 marks is subjective.
Yes.
Yeah, and in, for example, 10 marks objective, then 20 is objectives, and subjective in case 3 marks per question, 3 marks. This type.
Okay, marks distribution is fine, but for every question, see, you need to write which CO, which course outcome it is mapping. Then you will be able to prepare this table. Can you see the table on the right hand side?
Table. Yeah.
So this is question number 1A, CO1. Okay, these are the student roll numbers, PRN numbers. So for every student, see, CO question number 1A was for 6 marks, and it is mapping with CO1. So we need question wise marks in, I mean, we can have access to question wise marks if we are autonomous. So in this case, CO attainment calculation is very straightforward. That is my but see, 1A, you know how much is achievement by the students, all students, for CO1. Again, CO1 is reflecting here, again CO1 is reflecting here. So you have to find average of all. For example, average of this column is something, Average of column is something and average of column is something. Again, take the average and CO1 is achieved to that much percentage. Translate to percentage. So
Okay, okay.
you can do if you have written the COs in the question paper only. If this is not the practice in your college, then you can talk to your head of the department and inform that we need to write a question paper, the course outcomes, all the 5 to 6 course outcomes in the question paper also, so that the CO attainment calculation become even better and accurate. If you're not doing this, then attainment become very difficult. Do you do attainment calculations currently, madam?
Yes, sir.
Are you, I mean, whether it is a practice in your college to do CO attainment calculations, CO attainment calculations?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So how do you do then?
So, it's just for means starting in our college. So it's like these means ki.
So I have given you some idea that
Mhm.
you can write in a question paper all the COs, prepare, I mean, that course wise. You are a teacher, suppose. So in question paper, write all the COs because you're autonomous. Then check the answer books, all the answer books, and write down the marks in this format. So then, since you have written COs, see here COs are written. So here you can directly calculate the attainment on the scale of 100 by taking simply average. Clear, madam?
Okay, yeah.
And the same is the case with the continuous assessment. So these
Okay,
attainment calculations are very important, and soon it will be very important in the NAC. So this practice is very essential in your college also.
okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. सर कोण आहे पुढे?
I think Korean is. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, sir.
So I think they have a good feedback also on the, at least on message box.
At chat box, sir, I think.
So if they are very much satisfied, then what I will do that this presentation I can pass on. I think this is your requirement also, no? I have to pass on this presentation.
Yeah.
And this presentation is so simple that just by going through presentation, anyone can understand the process of attainment calculation. So fine, sir. Then if you can permit me to leave this
Yes,
session.
yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, to sparing the valuable time here, sir. To share the valuable knowledge, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Fine.
So participants, you can leave these meetings.